We are headed back home. That was quick. You need the control board because the unit was working on line on his own. Then my competitor came over here and put some shit in here that he didn't need. Now he got another problem. So he had a problem. My competition came over here, misdiagnosed it, made him pay for something he didn't need, and when he put the parts in that he said he did need, it created another problem. So he got the main problem he called for, and then another problem that the competition left in there. Then he called me, told me I got to have it fit. I said, well, first of all, the guy that came in here, I said, how long ago was it? He said, just last week. I said, he's still on the hook. Why you don't call him back? He said, I don't want nothing else to do with that motherfucker. He can't come back. I ain't calling him no more. Oh, I said, so now you let me off the hook on the repair he's liable for 30 days. He said, yep. He just didn't want him back. So the guy added a problem. That means he got two problems. Two problems on that top load washing machine exceeds the value of the washing machine. Feel me? Now he can buy a brand new one for less than. Fixing that. So, done with that motherfucker. Now we're heading home. Call it a day.
Went on live TV and he did something that was so shocking I had to rewind it twice just to make sure I wasn't hallucinating. And he didn't just vote no, he handed Democrats a gift-wrapped bow on top thanks for playing trophy right before the midterms. Oh, the timing was impeccable. Now here's a twist that should really make your coffee go cold and your eye twitch a little bit. This isn't some Democrat sabotaging President Trump. This is his own team. I mean, you got Senator Thom Tillis, Senator Lisa Murkowski, and you got Senate Majority Leader John Thune. This is the guy that's running the show, stuck making excuses like a guy who forgot his homework for like the 9th straight week. At some point, John, just eat the zero, man. Anyway, meanwhile, plot twist of the century. Senator John Fetterman, an actual Democrat, he's out here sounding more honest than half the Republicans in the building. Now, I need you to sit with that just for a second, okay? Oh, and Chuck Schumer? Oh, don't worry, guys. His own words are about to embarrass him better than we ever could. Now, we're just going to go ahead and hit play on that one. But today, we're going to go ahead and name, every quote, no mercy. Quick pit stop, though. If you or someone you love needs Medicare help, Chapter does it completely to fight this. This is their whole personality at this point. But this here, nobody saw this one coming. President Trump pushes the Save America Act. Simple bill, guys. It's not complicated. Show an ID. Prove you're a citizen. Groundbreaking stuff. I know. The kind of thing that your grandma does to cash a check. Supporters, they figured that this was the easy win. Slam dunk, layup, practically a formality. And then, plot twist. The resistance didn't come from the other team. It actually came from the dugout. John Thune, Lisa Murkowski, Thom Tillis. These are names that you would expect on the same jersey, same jersey as Trump. Well, suddenly they're acting like they borrowed the other team's playbook. This is the betrayal, guys. It's not the Democrats being Democrats. It's Republicans being whatever this is. Now, quick thing before we move on. If you're the type who likes to listen while you're driving or working out or walking a dog, good news, guys. The Ron Yates Report is now on Spotify too. Just search the name and hit follow so that you don't miss a single episode. So what is actually in this thing that's got everybody sweating? Well, it's the proof of citizenship. It's the voter ID. That's the scary radical agenda. President Trump, he wants it locked in before the 2026 midterms because once the midterms happen, well, it's too late to matter.
Billy, and it turns out that thousands of non-citizens were added to New Jersey's voter rolls, and some even voted because of a computer glitch. Another state says it's trying to clean that up. New Jersey's Governor Mikey Sherrill says that a software error in the state's motor vehicle system led to about 6,600 people who are not citizens being registered as Garden State voters when they apply for a driver's license. How did they know they can vote? She says even though the applicants answered no on the license and also state ID card application forms, well, the computer registered yes as citizens. She says it all happened under the previous administration of Democratic Governor Phil Murphy, and she's ordered the illegal voters be removed from the rolls.
It's unacceptable that the vendor released software with such a glaring error. It's unacceptable that the MVC took a year to get this issue fixed. And it's unacceptable that no one in the previous administration brought this to light, demanded accountability, or took action when it happened
There's no
years ago.
evidence. There's no
The
evidence.
investigation says it found less than 400 of those who were improperly registered actually did vote. And of those 400, they were registered in all the parties. They were Democrats, Republicans, and unaffiliated voters. They were registered over a one-year period from June 2023 to 24. And elections held during that time, well, they included the state legislature,
that's a lie.
municipal contests,
That's
school
cover
board
up.
elections in
Bigger
2023,
than that.
as well as in 2024, the U.S. Senate, congressional races, and the presidential
They just
election,
reduced it.
which Kamala
They're
Harris
trying to
won by more
minimize
than
it.
250,000 votes.
That
And Cheryl
motherfucker
herself
been
was
broke
elected
since
as governor
goddamn
last
Biden been in
year,
office.
and she won
Let's
by
be
nearly
real.
500,000 votes.
Timing isn't a preference here, it's the whole ball game. Congress is about to skip town for August recess, folks. So what this means is that the clock is not just ticking, it's basically sprinting. Now think about it like this, right? You don't wait until the exam starts to start studying, do you? No, you don't wait until the flight boards to pack your luggage, and you definitely do not wait until after the election to secure the election. So somehow this is exactly the pace that we're moving at. Election integrity, simple ask, enormous fight. Funny how this keeps on happening, right? So here's where it gets real fun. And by fun, I mean infuriating. The House passed this thing already. Done. They sent it over. Mission accomplished, right? Wrong. It hit the Senate and it just stopped like a car running out of gas 2 feet from the finish line. So Scott Presler, he's been out here for what, 200 straight days? 200. Begging the Senate to just vote every single day. At some point, this is not activism. This is a hostage negotiation. Oh, and the public, guys, the public is fed up. I mean, you got people who are flooding the comment section saying, stop their paychecks, cancel the recess, no vacation until it's done. What's up with all these rhinos? Now, honestly, not the worst idea I've heard, to be quite honest with you. You don't get to finish your homework, Congressman. No summer break for you, okay?
Now, I understand that you and I think every other Democrat oppose this so-called Save America Act, and there's a lot of reasons that you've put forward. But let me ask you very narrowly on the issue of photo ID, requiring photo ID to register to vote. Is this something that Democrats should get behind?
We have very
80-some% of Americans, 71% of Democrats say they favor this.
You know what? In Virginia, we have voter ID and photo ID. I got to show my.
That's actually not the case. I mean, I'm a Virginia voter. You don't need to show a photo ID in Virginia. There are a wide range of things you can show for ID. And if you don't show one of those, you can sign an affidavit saying
Sign an
attesting.
affidavit.
But so
comes
it's
back,
not
and
required.
those become ballots that, if you want to contest later, can be contested. But
Why?
you do have a variety of documents. But we have voter ID of one form or another.
But should that be a national standard?
Now, if you've got someone in your life who keeps asking, wait, why is this suddenly such okay? Senate Majority Leader John Thune, supposedly in charge, supposedly the guy who makes this thing happen, right? Instead, we get excuses. We don't have the votes. Oh, it's complicated. Oh, maybe later. Yeah, sir. It's a bill about showing ID. My library card required more paperwork than this apparently does. Meanwhile, he's sending the Senate on August recess like this is summer camp and not, United States government mid-crisis. Conservatives are pissed. They're furious. Comment sections are calling for him to be fired outright. Not voted out eventually, fired today. One commenter called this bought and paid for, allegedly. And, well, I'm not saying that it's true, but we are saying that people are saying it loudly. So either way, guys, John Thune, he went from background character to main character that nobody wanted him to be. And just when you thought that the plot couldn't thicken any further, it somehow managed to thicken. So Lisa Murkowski, Republican senator from Alaska, votes against the Save America Act because, well, it's supposedly like too draconian. Hey, I can't make this stuff up, guys.
Where do you stand on the Save America Act? Do you, support getting this legislation passed to protect elections?
Not as it is drafted now.
Why not?
The implementation in a rural state like Alaska is going to disenfranchise an extraordinary majority. And while I support citizenship voting and voting ID, I want to make sure that it's implementable.
Now, for voters in remote parts of Alaska, apparently she's sticking up for them. Ma'am, it's an ID. It's not a labor camp. And then,
They
of
don't
course,
have
you got
ID
Tom
in
Tillis,
Alaska.
senator from North Carolina. He has what can only be described as a full-on meltdown on the Senate floor, insisting that the bill somehow undermines election integrity by trying to protect election integrity. Yeah, somebody please help me out. Make it make sense for me. I mean, my brain's hurting, guys. My brain.
If they're telling you that this can be implemented by November, the only thing that will occur is an undermining of the election integrity, the integrity of our elections right now.
Can you respond to what he said there and help answer, if the voters believe, as he is forecasting, that elections can't be trusted, how can Republicans win the election in November?
Well, first of all, I'm like a majority of North Carolinians. I'm ready for Tillis to go back home. But we have to have election integrity. The polling is overwhelming in both parties. Every American expects our votes to be secure. And why in the world there are some states, and who just happen to be Democrat states, that don't want to require a voter ID, a real ID, to go in and vote? That's preposterous. We do that right here in Kentucky. In fact, every red state requires an ID to vote. The only reason I can think you wouldn't want an ID to vote is if you're creating some type of mischief or cheating. So I think the president's doing the best that he can as far as trying to encourage the Senate to do their job. What I think senators and most politicians reply best to are polls, and the polling is overwhelming. Over 90% of Republicans and 80% of Democrats think that you should be required to show proof of citizenship before you can get a ballot to vote in an election. It's not that complicated, and for the life of me, I don't understand why there are so many senators who oppose that. Let's just get this done. I agree with Tillis. This is the last week. This is the last week for a number of reasons, because we're heading into the August work period where Congress is not in session, and we're heading into the November elections. So this has to happen this week. I want to remind everyone, we have passed this bill in the House. It's now up to the Senate. I've spoken with Speaker Johnson. He is communicating with Leader Thune on trying to get this. This is a priority. We keep passing bills and attaching the SAVE Act in the House, so hopefully it'll get done this week. And I've got my fingers crossed, and I join an overwhelming majority of Americans in demanding that the Senate do its job and go with the people and give the American public confidence that our elections are secure.
Anyway, so you got two Republicans, same party as the president, voting like they're auditioning for a Democrat fundraiser. I mean, come on. Comment sections are not having, they ain't having it, okay? Murkowski and Thune need to go. Lisa and John need to be fired ASAP. Somebody even called them thieves. Now, I'm not confirming any of that. I mean, we're just saying, the itch to say it is spreading fast. Now, look, ladies and gentlemen, the moment that nobody predicted, John Fetterman, okay? He's a Democrat. We all know, right? Senator from Pennsylvania. He says on camera that he will never vote to shut down the government over this. A Democrat refusing to play the shutdown game.
Shutdown. Now, that would put me at odds, with the Democratic Party. I will never vote to shut our government down. We have to find a better way. That's a core responsibility. And now the reasons why we shut our government down, whether it's healthcare or reforms with ICE, neither of those ever happened. So it's a loser for American. And now I know there are my colleagues that don't want to do these things, but I'll stand up to the party and say this is wrong to do that. So that's the situation, and it's very disappointed that would be the third shutdown in like 9 months. That's insane.
Senator, it complicates things that you've got these very far left candidates winning and socialists now.
So meanwhile, Republicans are out here doing gymnastics just to avoid a simple vote. The irony here is it's so thick you could butter some toast with this stuff. So Fetterman straight up says that his own party is planning shutdown number 3 in about 9 months, purely to pin it on President Trump. And instead of going along with it, he publicly calls it out. Guys, to his own team's face, Comment sections practically fell in love with this man overnight. Thank you, Senator Fetterman. People were ready to hand him a MAGA hat on the spot. When the Democrat is the responsible one in the room, this is not a plot twist. This is a full-blown identity crisis. So now I want to talk about Chuck Schumer because his own mouth is doing way more damage than any of us ever could. So Chuck Schumer, he gets on the Senate floor and he calls the Save America Act Jim Crow, requiring an ID to vote. Jim Crow, okay. My grocery store card requires more security than that comparison holds up to. And of course, Hakeem Jeffries, oh yes, Temu Obama, Walmart Obama, this fake Dollar Tree store Obama. So Hakeem Jeffries is right there nodding along, insisting Americans don't want this bill. Meanwhile, the polls saying 90% of Republicans and 80% of Democrats support it. Somebody's math just isn't mathing, and it ain't ours. So then, of course, ABC News puts a Democrat guest on air who confidently claims Virginia has no voter ID law. Virginia, where they absolutely do have a voter ID law. Live TV, caught red-handed, didn't even blink. CNN calls this whole thing Trump's obsession. NBC just didn't air the speech at all, didn't want the smoke apparently. It's funny how the fact checkers keep on needing fact checks, right? Now buckle up guys, because now we're going to do some civics lessons that nobody asked for. So Mike Lee steps up and he explains that the Senate parliamentarian doesn't actually vote on anything. She just gives advice. The presiding officer could be J.D. Vance, could be someone else, and that person makes the actual call, which means that there is a legal path around this filibuster called budget reconciliation. Now, James Comer and others are pointing straight at it. J.D. Vance could be the tie-breaking vote that finally shoves this thing across the finish line.
President, imagine your shock if, while on your way to the theater, let's say, I don't know, maybe you're going to the opera. You're planning to pick up your tickets at will call. You arrive at will call at the appointed moment. And you say, yeah, I'm Senator Pete Ricketts. I'm here to pick up my opera tickets. They gave them to somebody else. You found out that the theater was handing out tickets at will call without any form of ID. Would probably be a little disappointing to you or to any other American, any other human in that circumstance, realizing that it's important to find out whether you are who you claim to be before you're given something where your identity matters. The same could be said of a whole bunch of other human transactions, ordinary human interactions involving day-to-day transactions that any of us can be expected to engage in multiple times every single week. One day, maybe it's theater or opera tickets. Maybe the next day, it's withdrawing money from a bank. You show up and money's gone from your account because your bank stopped requiring people to show ID. They can come along and claim to be someone they're not and take someone's money that is not theirs. The mere fact that we have a lot of people who are allowed to vote doesn't diminish the seriousness of not requiring people to prove that they are in fact who they claim to be when they show up to exercise that important right. Some people, when denying that there is any need for us to act here, will throw out things and say, well, that's fine for the bank or for theater tickets or for the pharmacy, but this is an important constitutional right. It is a fundamental right. My response to that is, yes, exactly. And that's exactly why we need it. The fact that it involves a protected, fundamental constitutional right is a reason why we need to make it easy to vote and hard to cheat. That, Mr. President, is exactly what the Save America Act does.
Suddenly, everybody's an expert on Senate procedure. I mean, your uncle at Thanksgiving, he's out here, quoting the Byrd Rule like he wrote it himself. Here's the truth in plain English, guys. The rules are not the problem. The willingness is. I mean, you can find legal path around almost anything if you actually want to. It's funny how impossible keeps on turning into inconvenient. Now, I want to talk about timing because this clock, it's not being polite about this. So Congress is barreling toward August recess, the part where they basically all go home for a month while the rest of us keep on working. Government funding runs out September 30th. Midterms are coming in 2026. And somewhere in between all of this bill is supposedly to magically pass. I don't know how this is going to happen. So Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, he says he's talking to John Thune, trying to get this prioritized, which is nice. Talking's nice, passing bills is better. So So the House did its job twice, okay? It's just sitting in the Senate collecting dust like a gym membership that nobody uses. Now, comment after comment says the same thing. No recess, no vacation, no paycheck until this gets done. Now, honestly, at this rate, this is not even punishment. This is just basic accountability. The clock doesn't care about anybody's summer plans. And so while the Senate naps, other people are actually doing some work. I mean, somebody got to do some work around here, right? So DHS drops a number that should really stop you mid-scroll. 278,000 non-citizens found registered to vote in federal elections. Non-citizens, guys, they're registered to vote. Oh, and this is just what they could confirm. I mean, some states won't even share their voter files. So what's the real number? Probably much higher. Shocking, I know, right? So President Trump announces the FBI and DOJ will investigate and states will get notified about compromised voter data, some of it reportedly exposed to foreign governments, including China.
Bit of Homeland Security. According to the DHS review, state voter rolls and public records, they identified approximately 278,000 non-citizens who are registered to vote in federal elections. Since Democrat states refuse to share their voter files, the real number is actually much higher than that. Yet, even this limited analysis found more than 250,000 foreigners illegally registered to vote. Put together, these disclosures reveal an election system so broken and so vulnerable that no one can possibly defend it. It is not defensible. Hundreds of millions of U.S. voter files are in the hands of foreign governments. Our machines and ballot counting systems are exposed to hacking and manipulation and corruption. China and other countries have been trying to meddle in our elections. Evidence of fraud has been buried. Hundreds of thousands of non-citizens and dead people are listed and active on the voter rolls. And yet we still have elections with no voter ID, no proof of citizenship, and tens of millions of ballots floating aimlessly through the mail.
Oh, and you guys remember California, right? Their mayor and governor election was held June 2nd. Results finished counting July 10th. This is over a month to count votes in one state. My pizza delivery is faster than this guy, and it comes with a tracker. This is not paranoia, it's paperwork. And apparently paperwork is terrifying to some people. So here's the part that should really, really bug you. This was never actually controversial. 90% of Republicans, 80% of Democrats, both sides, they want proof of citizenship and voter ID. This is not a partisan split. This is basically everybody except a handful of senators in Washington. That's it. So when Chuck Schumer insists Americans don't want this, the obvious question is, which Americans are you talking about, Chuck? Because the polling says otherwise.
Republicans should know by now that it ain't going to fly with us, with the courts, or with the American people. I'll say it as many times as it takes. The SAVE Act is dead on arrival here in the Senate. I don't care how Republicans try to package their plan to resurrect the old ghost of Jim Crow. We will kill it.
And polling doesn't have a political agenda. It just counts. Comment after comment asks the same gut punch question. Who do they actually represent? Because it sure is not the 80 to 90% of us agreeing on something for once, right? This is basically a miracle in this country, and they still can't close the deal. When elected officials manage to unite the entire country against them, this is not politics. This is a talent, a very, very specific, very unfortunate talent. So here we are, guys. Congress comes back. The vote's still hanging out there like laundry nobody wants to fold. John Thune, Murkowski, Tillis, will they budge or will they just keep on doing whatever this has been?